All right, guys. Sorry about the video cutting out yesterday. I don't know what was going on. I think I had too many videos on my phone. I got to learn how to clear them out a little bit better. So this is actually part 2 of the Pythagorean Theorem volume thing. But I'm not going to have you, not require you to watch it this weekend. We'll talk about it either in class today or we'll talk about it quickly on Monday. So quickly, in fact, that I'm just going to go over the 3 formulas that you're going to need to know for volume, and then I'm going to talk about the converse of the Pythagorean theorem. So that's PT converse. It's not like the newest shoe to come out. You know what I'm saying? Like PT converse. You know, no, I'm not charging you for this type of thing. Okay. So volume, 3 different shapes, right? So real 3-dimensional shapes, right? That can be filled. So a cylinder, like you know, a can of Coca-Cola. The volume is going to equal pi times r squared times h. So we'll talk about in class why the formula is like that. I don't want to waste too many times on this video for it. But basically, please make sure you do PEMDAS first. So radius has to be squared before we go any further. That's not radius times 2, right? Because that's diameter. But do that first. A cone, like an ice cream cone, okay? Volume is 1/3 times pi times r squared times h. So similar to the cylinder, but I'm only taking 1/3 of it, right? Because if you kind of look at a cone and a cylinder, like it's only like one kind of part if you break it into 3. We'll talk about it. A sphere, so you know, like a ball, right? Volume equals 4/3 times pi times r cubed, right? So it's the 3rd power, not the 2nd, okay? Basically what's going to happen is I'm going to give you probably radius, or maybe I'll give you diameter of whatever these 3 are, and you'll have to figure out one of these other things, or you'll just have to put it all together to find volume. We'll work on that in class today, so don't sweat it so much. Moving over to the converse of the Pythagorean theorem. So the Pythagorean theorem, I usually will say find the missing length, whether it's A, B, or C, or B, A, or C. Here, however, if you're taking a look, you've got all 3 measurements. The converse says, I'm going to give you 3 measurements. You have to prove to me that that is a right triangle or it isn't a right triangle, okay? Now, obviously, it's a right triangle because I did that. Just as a side note, if you have a triangle and it doesn't have that box in it, that's not necessarily meaning that it's a right triangle. That little box proves that it's a right triangle, even though my handwriting is probably not the greatest, or my drawing skills. So you're still going to use the formula. A squared plus B squared equals C squared for that. So let me go ahead and write that down here. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And you're going to use this formula to prove this true or not. Okay, so the answer can be yes, it's a right triangle because it fits, or no, it's not a right triangle because it doesn't fit. So remember what we did yesterday in the video. That can be A and that can be B. Or that can be B and that can be A because of the plus sign. And this has to be C, right, because of the hypotenuse. Let's plug it in and see what happens. So I've got 9 squared plus 9 squared equals 12 squared. Okay, some of you are already looking at it and you're like, that's probably not going to work. Well, let's try it anyway. So this is 81 plus 81 equals 144. Now, with equations, right, everything on the left-hand side of the equation must equal everything on the right-hand side of the equation. So just breaking this down a little bit further, and this is probably the last line before you can't see anymore. 162 equals 144. Now, I know that kind of looks weird to some of you, and this is the final line, right? Ask yourself, is that a true statement? Well, obviously it's not, because 162 does not equal 144. The only number that equals 162 is 162, and the vice versa. The only number that equals 144 is 144. So this is not true, which means this is actually not a right triangle. It doesn't work. Now, I'm not going to have you go to the next step on that yet, because you're going to get that in class with me. So 3 volume formulas, and right over there is my poster, so it'll help you in class. But these 3 you're going to have to remember, but the way we do it in class, talk about it, you should remember better. Converse, volume.